In this particular video, we're going to talk about the forum features and how to use them. In the previous video, I just showed you how to install PHP BB and how to change the style. And basically right now, I'm going to do a run through the administrative control panel because that's basically what you're going to be using to control your forum, such as creating threads, editing posts, deleting spam, things like that. So I'm going to go back to the general tab. Now, the nice thing about PHP BB is that it gives you a lot of board statistics. So when you open up your administrative control panel, you can see the number of posts, number of topics, number of users. Well, in this case, since I'm the only user right now, the number of attachments, the database size, which is important because you do want to view, how big your files are getting. And of course, if you want to reset that statistics, you can do so by resetting it here. And at the general tab, it does offer links where you can quickly access users. Let's say a specific user has issues or they're spamming your forum and you need to delete them. You can do that. You can manage groups of people. You can manage forums. You can edit the moderator log. Now, if you click on spiders and robots, basically spiders and bots are basically things that search engines send to your website so that they can crawl it and, gather the content from your forum, put it in the search engine, and of course rank you up by finding new content. Now, one thing about bots is that, well, from what I've noticed, is that they take a lot of bandwidth, and a lot of times you think, wow, there's so many people accessing my site, but eventually it's actually a bot that's accessing your site. Then you can deactivate them if you want to. But honestly, if you're just starting out, I would probably just leave all of these as B for now, and you can choose to do so later if you do have issues with bots, taking up a lot of resources. And as you go through here, you want to click on the attachment settings. And the question is, do you want to allow attachments or not? Because some people can attach files that might have viruses. And yeah, that is a possibility, but you want to think basically, is your target market ever going to really upload attachments besides their picture? And because I'm in a weightlifting gain muscle niche, most of these people are just going to have discussions. They're not really going to upload files unless it's going to be like their schedules and things like that. But what we can do is require them to post it in the thread. So to decrease viruses getting into your system, you might want to disallow attachments altogether. But that's merely up to you if you want to do that or not. If you click no on these, then of course that negates all of this down here. The one thing to note is that if you do allow attachments, you do need to be aware that you might need to spend a lot more time, looking around, making sure everybody's not spamming or uploading viruses and things like that. Because if somebody does upload an attachment with viruses and your other members download it, then they're all going to put the blame on you. So it's really up to you, but just want to make you aware of that. So after that, I'm just going to click submit. And we'll scroll down to the bottom here. You can have board settings. You can change your site name and add a description. And if you want to disable the board, of course you don't want to do that now, but let's say that you are maintaining the board at that moment and you are moving files over and you don't want to make the board available to anybody yet, then you can click on that. For example, if you don't want to make it public, then you can click on that and make sure you change it to no later on. And that brings us to board features. Do you want to allow private messaging? Yes, it's okay to have private messaging. Do you want to allow subscribing to topics? Yes, yes. Do you want people to change their username? I would say no. So I would probably just go with the recommended yes and no's by default. And I probably will not change that right there. Avatar settings. Avatars are basically the pictures next to the person's name. And I would just leave that as is, but if you want to change it, like for example, the maximum avatar file size is 6 kilobytes. If you wanted to increase that to something like 50 kilobytes, that might be easier for your members since a lot of files are in the range of about 10 to 14 avatar size. And you want to keep your file size to the minimum. Otherwise, what's going to happen is there's a lot more space is going to be used, and then that form is going to take a lot more bandwidth and things like that. So it might be good just to leave it as it is. Private message settings. And we'll look through. We're going to allow private messages. And private messages do take some space up, but not a lot. But if you calculate it all to say you got 300 members talking and they all have private messages, then you got to basically hold all of those. So these default measures have been probably tested by PHPBB over the years, and they found that. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go to post settings and look through everything. And good, I just want to leave everything like that. Signature settings. This is where it comes to the point where we say, okay, how many lines can the signature have? And that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of this video series, which was affiliate links, guidelines on how many affiliate links or how long their signature can be. So I would probably recommend a signature line about 3 to 4 lines. So maximum signature links, we could say something like 3. Otherwise, what you're going to have is people will put a post and put good content, and that's great, but their signature will be 5 to 6 lines long, and it won't add as much value to your forum. It'll make it more like a advertising forum, which you do want to advertise and you do want to make money with it, and you do want your users to be able to put affiliate links, but you will devalue your forum by doing so. So you do want to allow it, but you do want to limit it. So I'm going to click submit. User registration settings. Basically, what is the length of the username? The least to the longest. Some people put their names as a username, so I would put something about maybe 40 characters max, just because some people's names are longer, so I don't want to make it so that those people that do want to enter their full name can't. So I'll just put it at 40. And everything looks good, so I'm going to go click on submit. It basically puts a CAPTCHA, and what a CAPTCHA is if you notice that you fill out a form and then at the end it says like 324 and in an image, and they have to enter that. That way you kind of get rid of spammers or spam bots that come to your site and try to get into your site by creating, hundreds of accounts, and you want to avoid that because you do want to save time in the long run. So that's a preview of a CAPTCHA. Then it goes to client communication, and we're not going to deal with LDAP. Email settings, and if you want to change your email address and update that, you can do that too. And you can have a email signature, and you might want to enter your SMTP server address. In this case, I use Google, so I can get that. And if you don't know that information, you can always email your web host and they would have that information for you. We're not going to worry about any of these. If I click on forums, this is the area where you can actually create categories. I have my first category, which you'll notice here, but I'm just going to delete that. And then if I go here, that should disappear. So there we go. And I'm going to create a new forum. And you got to remember that each forum is sort of like a sub-forum, so it includes many different topics underneath. So if I go back to where I brainstormed earlier, I could say diet and nutrition and exercises. So first thing I would probably want to start out with finding a gym. And the next thing I'd put diet and nutrition. And then I would add a few more. And there we go. Now, after you submitted the forum topics, basically you're going to need to go to the group's permissions. So if you go to users and groups, you're going to go to groups, permissions, and look up user group, and we're going to choose registered users and click submit. And we'll say all features. Click apply, all permissions, click back to previous page, and then I'm going to go to groups forum permissions, and then I'm going to click on registered users, click on submit, and select all forums or specific forum and click on submit. And you basically want to allow them to access all of these, so they can have read-only access, limited access, full access. In this case, I want them to actually interact, so I'm going to click on full access, full access, full access, and full access. Click apply all permissions, click back to previous page. And if I go here, I should be able to see everything. Okay, good. So I can see everything.